On the subject of Iran and Middle East peace, my view is that these successes and the exceptional leadership we're seeing from the political appointees, General Kane on the Joint Staff, and other senior leaders are helping to set the conditions for maybe even ending the conflict with Iran that's been going on for 50 years or more. Do you think that the new national security strategy, coupled with the actual outcomes and the actual activities of this administration and how they're demonstrating it, is having a positive effect in that regard? Or do the Iranian leaders still see kind of the stuff we're talking about, this little, maybe a little turmoil inside the country? What's your view on that? But it's my view that I think the new national security strategy and military strategy is working and it is getting to the point where deterrence is going to get reestablished in the Middle East and in the Pacific.
I couldn't agree more. I think that the strategy is very effective. I think it is working very well. I think all of our adversaries have seen, just like we spoke about before, the operations that have occurred in the year that this administration has been in office. And our adversaries are thinking twice before they are making decisions. And, I always say after an operation like this that the president is usually very clear and transparent. And when he says something, our adversaries should probably listen to him and realize that he's telling the truth. The risk level that they want to take in terms of calling his bluff varies depending upon what adversary that we are talking about. But I think overall, yes, deterrence is back, and our adversaries will think twice before they want to make a decision that may result with the U.S. military coming within their area of operation.
Well, that's good news to hear. And it's also good news that we're getting about some of our allies around the world. And in the next segment, I want to talk about Japan. The Japanese just pulled off a hugely massive change by election in their government, and the new prime minister is set to have even much more power than any other prime minister in modern times, at least since World War II, has had. And their goal is to do what the Trump administration has been encouraging our allies to do: build up your strength, build up your defenses, because the United States can't go it alone around the world. One of the reasons why I supported the president is because I had met the Undersecretary of Defense for Policy that's in now, Elbridge Colby, many years ago, and been reading his writings and those kind of things. And in my mind, that the concept of reestablishing peace through strength and having a deterrence policy versus a constant wartime combat policy is much more effective at establishing prosperity, keeping the peace, and those kind of things. And what just happened to Japan with Prime Minister Takaichi's coalition, I think, was probably enabled because of this view and what is now in the national security strategy that was put out in December of the United States, is that people, the voters, felt free to vote for this outcome.
Yeah, absolutely. Peace through strength is, the overarching theme. And I think that you can say whatever you want. A military or a political leader can talk about anything they want. If they don't have the military behind them to back them up, then deterrence is not going to be effective. So I think what we are seeing with Japan is they will be able to now build their military up to a level that they feel where that they will have the option for deterrence and it'll work better for them. And I think it, aligns with, just like you said, with the Trump administration and the NSS and how that's going to play out in the future, especially in the Indo-Pacific and countering China.
Yeah, there are already some people saying things like, which are silly really in today's environment, saying things like, well, yeah, the last time the right wing won in Japan, they bombed Pearl Harbor. I actually saw that. Somebody wrote it out this morning, believe it or not. Once I got over chuckling at it, I realized that some people just do not like change, but this is a change that's been needed for quite some time. I've advocated that the Japanese government be able to reestablish their actual armed forces, because they're kept in this self-defense only box type situation
Yeah.
because of the Constitution that the United States helped write, obviously. So I think this is good, and it sends a message to our other allies around the world, right? That same message we've been talking about, that you gotta pull your weight. You cannot be a subject or a client state of the United States.
Yeah, and yeah, we're a little bit different world than World War II. But I think yes, it's very clear that in the global climate today, if you are a passive nation, you will you'll fall under the umbrella of a bigger adversary that is going to be able to squash you. And that's just like what we saw in Japan. The people spoke. They do not want that to happen. They want to be able to defend themselves and have a military that is capable of doing so. And after not having that for so many decades, seeing the rise of China and their aggression in the South China Sea, it is, about time for Japan to say enough is enough. We need a strong military to be able to support ourselves. And yes, we're an ally of the United States, but we're still our own nation. And we need a military that reflects that and is able to defend us against the adversaries that we have independently.
How do you think this will change the geopolitical landscape, especially in East Asia? I've already seen activists in Japan say things like, well, this is the end of communism in East Asia, which to me targets North Korea primarily. And obviously, China's there too, but I think that statement focuses on North Korea. Do you think the geopolitical landscape and national security landscape is going to shift? The United States will have a different role now that Japan is going to resurge from a military perspective?
Not as significantly as or immediately as I feel like some may think. First of all, it's going to require some significant time to do what they're looking to do. That's not anything that's going to happen overnight. And when you look at the adversaries that exist in around Japan, that's not, I mean, China's military is massive. It's not like Japan will suddenly be this superpower that can counter China alone. So no, I think that the relationship between Japan and the United States will still be incredibly important moving forward with really any of our adversaries that exist in the Indo-Pacific. So I think that it's a necessary step and a positive step for Japan. But does this mean that Japan will rise up and counter China? No, not independently or anytime soon at all.
Yeah. The president mentioned yesterday, I think, that he has a meeting scheduled, and the clip talked about the meeting scheduled with the prime minister of Japan before he goes to see President Xi of China. And he specifically pointed out, and I love the way he does this, we have a really big trade deal that's pending, and it's going to be really good and really beautiful for Japan and for the United States. How linked are trade, the economies, and establishing the military strength to deter the Chinese Communist Party from military adventurism? How intricately linked are those concepts, and why is that important for the American people to understand?
They are absolutely linked. A nation's economy is absolutely important to be able to fund the military that provides deterrence against adversaries. And that is they are so very well connected. And if there becomes a break in that chain, it can absolutely have a downward effect and affect the military. If you can't fund it, we've seen adversaries who have had this happen to them, and we've seen downfalls because of it. Your economy is absolutely crucial to your national security, to your defense, being able to fund your military, ensuring that you have the most up-to-date and innovative technology to counter your adversaries, which is huge right now. We're seeing this innovation race against the United States with all of our adversaries. So if you don't have the economy to back our military, then it is a big problem for your national security for your nation as a whole.
Yeah, and we're in an attempt to actually we're on track to increase our manufacturing capability inside the country now. Shipbuilding and steel are two of the biggest challenges to increase our manufacturing capability here at home. The Japanese are shipbuilders and steel manufacturers in their own right. How do you see that playing out with us being able to help each other as the United States tries to achieve that goal while Japan is rebuilding its military force?
Well, they're a very important trade partner, and I think will continue to be so moving forward. We, both are able to support each other in the ways that are necessary. The United States has, the world's biggest economy behind it that will be very helpful to Japan to be able to support it and work through these trade deals. That will be beneficial to Japan's economy. I think that just like we talked about previously, they go hand in hand. So if we are working with Japan to increase their trade and give them more economic prosperity, it is going to benefit them militarily with their defenses and being able to grow in that aspect as well. That will also help with them being able to counter China. And other adversaries in the region as well. So this is a win-win, I would say, for all parties involved, and for us to have such a significant and strong ally geographically in that region is very important. So this is all very strategic, I would say.
Do you think that just before we go to the break here, this is on my mind, the Chinese have been aggressive in the northern Philippine Islands. They've been aggressive in the South China Sea. And they have tried to push around folks on the Solomon Islands and key strategic outposts here that the United States has traditionally been very strong with. This resurgence of Japan, is it going to be complicated because a lot of these different nations were once adversaries, or do you think that they'll just continue down this path like we are with the United States of a peaceful alliance, working together to try to deter the CCP because it's such a large threat to them?
Well, I think that's kind of up in the air right now. I think Japan's stance is very similar to ours right now, which is peace through strength. They want to be seen as a nation that is incredibly strong with their defenses, and that's someone that China has to think twice about rather than just doing whatever they want because of their own military significance. So I think that what we're seeing and what we just saw, there will be some sort of like external pressures to China, but it's going to be interesting times in terms of their own foreign policy and how they're going to handle working with both nations to achieve their own ambitions and their own goals, I think.
Yeah, it's very interesting. A lot of people don't realize that Japan's furthest reaches towards the west are pretty close to Taiwan, which is why the Chinese Communist Party leadership got all in an uproar when they talked about hypersonic missiles being stationed close enough to establish a deterrence. Well, we got to take a last break. When we come back, though, we have to talk about the amazing flyby at the Super Bowl yesterday. If only because I'm a B-1 guy and the B-1s were leading the pack there. I was the commander of the 9th Bomb Squadron, and I was a founding member of the 34th Bomb Squadron as B-1s, and the 34th Bomb Squadron was leading that effort. And I have to give a shout out to the backseaters in those jets because they're the ones that control the timing. And you can't get better timing than at the very last note of the national anthem for your flyby to have you over the target. But it's bigger than that, isn't it? I mean, this is an example like the operational examples we saw, the bombing of the nuclear facilities in Iran, the takedown of Venezuela, and all of these operations. This is an example of the type of the things that we do to train these Americans to do that job flawlessly. Because getting 7 B-2s over the target in Iran with no shots literally being fired at them, no maintenance failures, is really just a huge outcome that was made by the people that prepared the jets that we saw yesterday, that we just saw in that video. Those maintenance kids, men and women out there, officers and enlisted, are the ones that made that miracle over Iran happen, because it was a miracle. somebody that's
Yeah.
pushed jets for a living.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, such a beautiful sight of American air power, the sound of freedom. I love it. Gives me chills every time you see something like that. But yeah, you're absolutely right. I think as we're both pilots, a lot of times the pilots get all the applause, so to speak, when really there is so much that goes in behind the scenes for you to get in that cockpit, take off, do everything that you need to do that is keeping you safe and providing you what you need to accomplish the mission. You know, everything from the fuelers, the weather guys, the nav, the mechanics, like you said, the strategists for like a mission like Iran, and the operations. It is so much planning, and then yes, the execution is on the pilots, and they are the best in the world. And we have seen that play out over the last year with these operations that have happened. We saw it in Venezuela, Iran. It is the literal best of the best that exist in this world who are carrying out these operations and having them be carried out so flawlessly. You know, they make it look as easy, but it is absolutely anything but.
Yeah, you know, and early in my career, when the Grenada operation happened, and before that, Desert One, the operation that failed out in the deserts of Iran, trying to save the hostages under Carter, we weren't able to talk to each other on the radios. So when I see a formation made up of Navy, National Guard, and Air Force aviators that are able to get over the target right on the exact time they need to be there. I don't care whether it's a Super Bowl flyby or if it's a bombs on target issue. There was a time in my military career when we couldn't do that. That says something for us to be able to execute joint warfighting operations, doesn't it?
It really does. And it's actually much more dangerous than flying with your own branch, your own units, the people that you're used to flying with. We always said when we were in Iraq or Afghanistan, and you're doing your RIP TOA with the unit that's coming in to replace you, or you're the unit going into country, that's the most dangerous time of your combat year that you're there, is when you're doing the RIP and you're flying with a pilot from the incoming unit and you're the pilot from the outgoing unit. And more problems and accidents happen with that because of crew coordination, and you're working with different people and you guys operate differently, you train differently, even though, you know, you both may be in the Army and you have the same standard operating procedures and stuff like that. You're just not used to working together, not used to communicating, and it's very dangerous. So when you, like, to your point about the joint operations being to operate so seamlessly, that's says a lot about the level of their expertise.
Yeah, and you know, sometimes we get criticized by doing events like the Super Bowl. Every second of that, from the planning to the preparation by the maintenance personnel and the execution by the pilots and the weapon systems officers, is an extremely valuable training session, isn't it?
Yeah, I actually, you know, this fell under me when I was working at the Pentagon, was these aerial shows. And to me, I don't get the controversy. It's phenomenal for recruitment. And then it's also American patriotism, and American patriotism is back. We are allowed to show it, and we are allowed to be proud of our military and our country and what we are capable of doing. We want to see that. And that's good for our nation. That's good for our citizens to be like, my tax dollars are going to ensure that we have that equipment and those pilots in the military that can go fly in the dead of night to the other side of the world and take out targets that are building a nuclear program. Like, people need to be proud of what our military is capable of and the people serving in it to accomplish that. And so we need these patriotic moments. I think it's important. There should be no controversy around this. This is a positive. This is, you know, American military might on display for the world to see, and it is a very positive, good thing.
Yeah, and I think it's important to go back to our civilian population discussion when you say that, because Secretary Hegseth and his team are out touring some defense industry manufacturing facilities today, and he was at Lockheed Martin and in Anduril afterwards were the two that I saw. And at both of those, you have large numbers of civilian workers that are building these tools that these Americans that we recruit that are stepping up to volunteer to serve their country and do what we need them to do. You have these civilians that are in masses and they're shouting. I saw it today. I think it was at the Lockheed Martin facility. They just break out and chanting USA, USA, USA. We need that type of spirit amongst our civilian population as we rebuild our manufacturing capability, don't we?
We absolutely do. And look, like especially modern day, the primes take a lot of heat in the defense industry, and they're crucial for the defense industrial base for us to have the equipment that we have that we use on these missions. They are absolutely a critical element to it. Do we need the startups that are producing this new and innovative technology as well in the defense industry? Absolutely, but there is room for both across the table. When it comes to acquisitions, yes, things need to be modernized and streamlined and made more efficient so we can get that technology into the military in the hands that need it. But you're right. These are Americans who are building things in America to service our military, to ensure, we stay the most elite fighting force in the world.
Do you think, speaking of non-primes, do you think having young men and women like, for example, Palmer Luckey, Elon Musk, that are energizing these new manufacturing and designs of new equipment, entering into the defense industry, that's as important as keeping the primes going and increasing their capability, right? Because we want the younger generation of leaders and entrepreneurs and those kind of folks to be very motivated to do things like save American manufacturing, right?
Absolutely. The Palmer Luckeys of the world, the Elon Musks of the world, they are such a crucial component to technology and inspiring those younger minds to, build for America and create technology that is going to benefit us. And I am glad to see them, pursuing what they have in defense, because it is so important. And for so long, you saw some of the bigger companies sort of shy away from that, like American greatness and American patriotism. Like you saw, what I'm referring to is some of the technology companies that didn't want to get contracts with the Pentagon because they feared that they were, their technology could hurt one of our adversaries, stuff like that. And so it's great to see some of these companies being like, no, we want to give our technology to the military so they can accomplish their mission and we can, defeat and win against our enemies. That mindset of these very bright minds is so important, that they love America, that they've, made it their life's work to ensure that we have it. So I think, yes, it's very important. And for young people to, have them as idols and see them as people who are doing great things for our country. And it is okay and even a great thing to love America and want to make it a better place like those people are doing.
Oh, it absolutely is. And I forgot to mention Joshua Steinman, who I know through X.
Yeah.
I try to support him because he is an entrepreneur that teaches. He not only starts his own companies, but he takes the time to teach the young men and women that ask him how to do their own. And these are the kinds of men and women that are reflective of the manufacturers that really allowed us to win World War II, which were not defense contractors. They were manufacturers of cars and tractors like Henry Ford and those kind of folks that believed in the country and stepped up and stepped forward at that time. That's why I think even civilian manufacturing increases are very, very valuable. Well, Amber, thank you so much for your time
100%.
today. This has been fantastic. So tell folks where they can find you and what's next on your plate.
Yeah, so you can find me on X at Amber Smith USA, talking about all this stuff that we talked about today over there on X. Just, continuing the good fight, ensuring that our military has what it needs policy-wise to, ensure that we're the best military in the world. And go check out Coalition for Military Excellence as well, an organization doing phenomenal stuff to ensure that our military is on the right track and leadership has what they need to ensure that wokeness is out of the military and that our service members have what they need to succeed.
Well, thank you very much. We will see you around, I'm sure, especially around the Coalition for Military Excellence. And we've got a lot to talk about outside of the military. There's just a lot going on, and I'll see you then.